Hi, David here from knotnauti. Today we're going to have a look at this Gladius Mini S underwater drone made by Chasing. Been lent this to have a play with it, and I have to say, on the surface it was really hard to use, but after a couple of goes it actually became quite intuitive and easy to use. It's one of those things you have to really stick at it and do the hours really. It comes in this amazing backpack which feels waterproof. Don't know if it is. Very robust. It's quite a heavy package, so you want to make sure you've got something robust to carry it in. Everything has its own bag, which is fantastic. This drone also comes with a grab claw. Which we didn't use, but we'll use later on. 200 meters of tether. Which actually floats, we've discovered, which is a great feature because you can kind of see where the drone is by the floating cord. This controller, which at full extension actually holds a big iPad. We've also got a charger which charges both the drone and the handheld unit at the same time. The charge light for the controller is on the controller. The charge light or the charge indicator for the actual drone is on this charge unit itself. So this gives you an indication of when it turns green it's fully charged, and I think it took about 3.5 hours to fully charge it. And in the instructions it says that you will get 4 hours of maximum battery life. There's not a lot of instructions in the instruction book. To be fair, that's it. There's only about 6 or 7 pages. It gives you everything you need to know to get you started, and it gives you direction as to where you can find out more information if you really want to dig down deep into it, which is something I'll definitely be doing a bit later on once we've got the fundamentals down pat. So part of the mission is to test out this Chasing underwater drone. Now we're going to do it from the beach, maybe a couple of meters off the beach in the tender rather than from the back of the boat, because it's not our drone and we had a little play with it yesterday. It's quite tricky to maneuver until you get good at it. So we'll just keep away from the boat, keep away from the mooring, keep away from the propellers, and we'll do it in a little bit shallower of water so that there's just a little bit less risk to everyone.
So we are going to do it in the tender, and we're going to drop a little anchor somewhere closest to the beach and see what we can see.
Right, sliding the iPad in. So straight away we need to turn this on and then we need to connect it to the network. So there's a Wi-Fi connection between this Gladius Mini S drone and the iPad. Right, down she goes. And we'll just give it a little bit of extra. Right. And under the water she is.
Goes quite fast.
Right, I'm going to turn on the lights.
And we're going to check out our anchor.
Go and check out the anchor. See the anchor?
That was really interesting. We've had a good play. Got kind of quite proficient at going down and checking the anchor for the tender and going over to see that log over there as well. It is quite tricky to maneuver, but yeah, the more practice you get, the easier it becomes. And it's like driving a boat. Once you point it in a direction, it goes in that direction, and it keeps going in that direction until you correct it. But overall, pretty cool. Love it.
So some thoughts on the usability of this Mini S drone. Put it in the water, it floats. That's fantastic. So you've got a little bit of time to get yourself sorted. The lights at the front are really good for learning because you can actually see which way the drone is facing when it's further away from you. And we found learning in really clear water was a massive bonus because you can actually see the drone sort of under the surface, and you've got an indication of where it is, and you can maneuver it visually rather than relying on the device in order to kind of orientate yourself. The pitch angle is a fantastic feature. So underwater, pitch it, you can look at the bottom, and then the drone glides along. We use that a lot. The camera quality is really, really good. When you're going slow, you get a really crisp and clear picture. When you're going fast, obviously, there's a lot of information coming in, so it tends to pixel out a little bit, and the light reflection. So the light reflection coming through the water when you're going fast tends to create a pixelized vision. But when you're down the bottom, the lights are fantastic. You can actually see really good detail. We went on the tender away from the boat in order to learn. The first time we used it off the back of the boat, which in hindsight was adding a whole layer of complexity that we didn't need to have, just primarily because of rudders and propeller shafts and propellers. So the second time, when we went out for a proper play, we went out on the tender, dropped the tender anchor overboard, and just had a really good investigation around the tender and used the tender anchor as our focal point in order to see how good we could get quickly. And in all honesty, in under an hour, I felt reasonably confident in maneuvering this thing with quite a high degree of accuracy. It is like a boat, so when you turn the controller, the drone will move until you correct it back into the orientation that you want to go. One of the surprising things about this little drone is just how fast it goes when you've got your control dialed in and you're quite confident. It really does zip along. Maximum speed 4 knots. It feels a whole lot faster than that, but gosh, it goes quick, doesn't it? So this little mat that it comes with is a really neat feature. It's super absorbent. There's a lot of water that's contained in here, and when you get it out and you drain it, water still keeps coming out for a while afterwards, so it's great to be able to put it on that mat and not have the water just going everywhere. The handheld controller, it's light. This little tether strap is a very thoughtful feature and something that I will use in the future. This little kickstand, I actually ended up putting it down on the seat of the tender quite a bit and using my body to shield the screen from the sun. So it was quite handy to have it down here so that I could actually get some good stability. The light feature, absolutely fantastic. To be able to see clearly down at the bottom of the ocean where, to be fair, we weren't that deep, but we were deep enough that it was getting kind of dark down the bottom, and within sort of this much distance you had a very clear picture,
How deep can it go?
it can go to 100 meters deep. So we definitely didn't go to 100 meters. Where we were anchored was 11 meters of water, and we went down to the bottom, no problem whatsoever. So today we're going to try out the Gladius mini drone in the crystal clear waters of Lake Taupo and see how we go with navigating and operating this thing from the shoreline rather than from a boat. I have the sneaking suspicion it's going to be a whole lot easier. So let's crack into it. So as you can see, it's pretty hard to see unless you're in a whole lot of shadow because of the reflection on the screen. So I guess if you had a better display set up with some sort of shade cover would be ideal. It's quite, whilst it doesn't look very wavy, it's quite wavy out there and it's getting pummeled by the waves. So it's taking quite a lot to actually keep it flying through the water because it's just getting bounced around by the waves. But it's still so much fun. I could literally spend hours doing this, just looking at the bottom of the ocean or a lake.
Oh, he flew away.
One of the exciting features of this drone is this grabby handle. Now this apparently holds 12 kg, which is phenomenal. Very much looking forward to using this. So once we get good at maneuvering the drone with quite a lot of precision, we'll break out this bad boy. I'm really enjoying the fact that we can get under the boat, we can check out what's going on, we can see the propellers, we can see the propeller shaft, we can see the anodes, we can see the anchor, we can see a mooring block, we can see the mooring tackle. Yeah, this is fantastic. And with the grabby arm, we might even be able to retrieve Mr. Inglefield's Apple Watch. We're in Long Bay, which is where one of our guests lost an Apple Watch overboard when they were doing a dive from the top. So what better way to test out the capabilities but to dive down and see how we go. Now we've done this manually in the past where we dove down physically in the summertime. We found heaps of bottles, heaps of other debris on the ocean floor, but no Apple Watch. Don't rate our chances, but we've got a grabby claw, lights, and some time.
Right, so we've got this set up and connected. There's your face. And we're going to drop this over the side at the front so that we can have an investigate around this sort of general vicinity. We want to have a look at the mooring, we want to have a look under the boat, and we want to have a look and see what's happening on the bottom of the sea floor. So carefully, we'll just pass it down to Maya in the boat and we'll have a go. Fantastic, thank you. I was quite excited to use the grab claw, but as you can see, it was actually quite hard to keep the drone still so that the claw could be opened and grab onto an object. Upon reflection, it would have been a lot easier to master this skill in a pool without the impacts of tide and current, which in that bit of the Sounds is quite strong. And right here is the moment our afternoon got really interesting. With the perfect storm of far too much tether out, which of course floats, a twin propeller, twin rudder boat with quite a deep keel, and a sudden gust of wind. The boat spun around, running over the top of the tether, which then wrapped itself around the propeller shaft. Not ideal at all. We tried all sorts of different ways of freeing it, including getting our boat hooks out and trying to push it down to counter the fact that the tether just wanted to float to the surface. Nothing worked, so there was only one thing for it, and that was to get into the water, the freezing cold water. After several dives, I managed to unwrap the tether from the propeller shaft and free it, but that was the last time we used the drone near the boat. Underwater drones, boats and propellers, winter time. Not a great recipe. It's like 11.5 degrees Celsius water, which is not pleasant. And it was just hooked on the propeller, like all the way around. So, time for a shower. So, unexpected swim equals massive cleanup. Snorkel, mask, wetsuit, all gets a freshwater wash, as did I. Nice hot warm shower, middle of winter, quite a luxury warm shower, loved it. Got the generator going, great. Final thoughts. Everything was easier when you had really great visibility because you could kind of see where the drone was and you had a sense of which direction you were going. When you're on a boat and you're using the drone, the boat's always moving, the boat's always spinning around, and so as a result your headings are sort of different to where the drone might be depending on which way the boat is spinning. If it's windy, you know, we tried it a couple of times in the wind, which wasn't that successful, so we went onto the dinghy, which you would have seen, which was more successful, and then we finally went onto the beach, and then tried to operate the drone from quite a distance. Love all of these connections, love the fact that you get extra bits and pieces. This was fantastic. This backpack is awesome. You know, when we were in Lake Taupo, we did a bit of hiking to get to where we needed to be, and so just having everything in one place on your back was just amazing. The instructions. The instructions are good. What I ended up doing is downloading an electronic version of it that had a little bit more, and I watched several videos as well. So in terms of preparing yourself to get the best use out of these sort of drones, you have to really read the instructions. You have to go online and look at some tutorials. You have to try and find some people that have been successful in utilizing these drones. and then sort of learn somewhere that is easy to see the drone and probably somewhere not moving. So I think if I'd learned how to use this drone in a swimming pool first, my entire experience would have been much more beneficial, and I probably would have got a lot more out of it had we had clear water. Because we are dealing with the Marlborough Sounds and the water clarity, pretty much where we're going most of the time is really quite murky. It made it really, really difficult to actually see what was happening. Like, we came up against the bottom really quick. It made it hard for the drone to deal with that, because it ended up sucking up silt, and so you end up in an environment where even if you've got the drone on a really nice angle and you've got it pointed down, you've got the lights on, all of a sudden you've got silt. Just looking at other people's videos of diving on the anchor in the Bahamas and places like that, I think for someone that doesn't want to dive on the anchor, a drone like this would be absolutely amazing, because you can get down and you can see exactly what's happening. So if you had really good water clarity, I would 100% be buying even a small drone like this, because it's just so lightweight and compact and easy to use. If you do have to deal with tidal areas with large currents, I probably would step it up a notch and go to the next drone up, so that you just had a little bit more grunt in terms of being able to counter where the drone was. But again, because most of the time we were operating the drone without great clarity, it was actually quite hard to determine how effective I could be, because I really didn't give it a fair crack. Lake Taupo, on the other hand, awesome. Chasing ducks, chasing fish, just amazing, because I could actually see where I was going with the drone and could sort of plan ahead, and away we went. Even in the outer sounds, when we were up at Kitu Bay, the first bit of the video, where I could go up towards a post with reasonably accurate movements from the dinghy. Yep, it really just comes down to water clarity. Another point would be the importance of rinsing and cleaning this thing in fresh water. Now, it's quite a solid unit, and so it takes quite a big container to put it into after it's been in the sea, so that you can get a really good freshwater soak. And it is so important that you get that really good freshwater soak, and then run the machine in the fresh water, so that fresh water is rinsing out everything. Now, I can't stress that enough. Overall, pretty solid piece of kit. I think it's very dependent on the kinds of conditions in which you're operating. So, you know, these things are a considerable investment, and this is sort of entry level type stuff. So as you go further up, you really want to be thinking long and hard about what you want to use this for, and what sort of conditions you're operating in most of the time. So for us, I think I'll probably step it up a couple of notches, so that I get a little bit more power in the drone to counter the tides, and a little bit more power in the lighting, so that hopefully there's a little bit more cut through in terms of pushing through that sediment, so that we can get a better, clearer view. Thank you very much for watching. Love doing these sort of review things, because at the end of the day, we're out there using it, and we've got sort of real world experience in terms of how things go, what works, what doesn't, and what you need to consider when purchasing these sort of big ticket items. Love to make more videos, love to have you join us on our journey. Please like and subscribe, and also look in the description below, because there'll be some links to where you can buy some of these things. And if you buy through our links, it helps our channel out, and we very much appreciate that. Thanks very much. So point the camera up at your face.